Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fajriah. My ID number is A121181007. I'm from Group 1. I want to present the material on the concept of literature. The first is to explain the definition of literature. What the meaning of literature? Literature is a written works that can be used as reference or reference in various activities in the field of education and other fields because they are considered to have lasting advantage or benefits. Another opinion says that the meaning of literature is a source of information that can be used as a reference by its users. In other words, literature does not have to be written, but can also be in the form of films, recordings, LPS, laserdiscs, and other objects that can be provide useful of information. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Akmal. In my part, I'm explain about kinds of literature. The kinds of literature have three kinds are based on the level of analysis, based on the collecting, and based its nature. Based on the level of analysis have three parts. First, primary literature. The primary literature is the research literature in the which its content have never been published before. It usually contains new ideas or theories in the various disciplines. For example, thesis, dissertation, paper, journal, research report, and so forth. The second is secondary literature. Secondary literature is literature product either by reference or by quoting from the primary literature. This type of literature typically contains pre-existing theories or ideas and does not lead to new discoveries. For example, abstractions, magazines, newspapers, and so on. The third is scattered literature. A tertiary literature is a literature containing information in a clue to the acquisition of secondary literature. For example, literature manuals, almanacs, directories, abstract, index lists, and so forth. The kinds number 2 is based on collecting. Based on collecting have a two part. First, general collecting. Among the public collection are the books for the producing of plants, novels, comics, and so forth. The second is reference collection. These types of literature consist of accumulation of information that can be used for answer all kinds of questions. For example, dictionaries, encyclopedias, and so forth. Finally, kinds of literature is based on its nature. Based on its nature have two parts. First, textual document. The literature that contains information is a text that its readers can use. The second is non-textual documents. The literature that contains the combined information of the both written and unwritten documents. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi, I'm Sakina. My ID number A12118 and 115. Okay, I will explain about the material concept of literature. There are two characteristics in the concept of literature. Okay, for the first primary literature, and the second is secondary literature. Primary literature has the characteristic: for the first, source from the original first hand without any change or modification. And the second, it is proof of registration and application of a new invention or idea. And the third, in the form of scientific papers that are intended to obtain a doctorate at the university. And the fourth, papers or collection of work papers submitted for seminar meeting, conference, and so on. Okay, and then secondary literature has the characteristic. There are four. For the first, no source from first hand. And the second is modification of the primary literature. And the third, contain information related to primary data presented with an easier to use form. And the fourth, publish it more informatively as supported by other documents. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. There are characteristics in the concept of literature. Bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Ridevia Priyani. My ID number A121181112. I will continue to explain the material from my friends. The next material about the category of literature. A literary genre is a category of literary composition. Genre means a type of art, literature, or music characteristic by a specific form, content, and style. The four main literary genres are poetry, fiction, non-fiction, and drama. All of these genres have particular features and functions that distinguish them from one another. Hence, it is necessary on the part of readers to know which category of reader they are reading in order to understand the message is conveyed, as they may have certain expectation prior to reading concert. The first literary genre is poetry, literature that evokes a concentrated imaginative hours of experience or a specific emotional response through language chosen and arranged for its meaning, sound, and rhythm. There are three main kinds of poetry: narrative, dramatic, and lyrical. It's not always possible to make distinction between them. For example, an epic poem can contain lyrical passages, or lyrical poem can contain narrative parts. It's the kind of poetry which tells a story. The first kind of poetry is narrative poetry. Narrative poetry is a form of poetry that tells a story, often making the voice of a narrator and characters as well. Narrative poems do not need rhyme. Narrative poems include epic, ballads, idyll, and lays. The second kind is dramatic poetry. Dramatic poetry encompasses a highly emotional story that's written in verse, meant to be recited. It usually tells a story or refers to a specific situation. This would include close drama, dramatic monologues, and rhyme verse. The third kind is lyrical poetry. Lyrical poetry is a form type of poetry which expresses personal emotions or feelings, typically spoken in the first person. It is not equivalent to song lyrics. They are often in the lyric mode.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, my name is Demak Firambani and my ID number is A1218114. Okay, I want to explain to you about fiction, non-fiction, and drama. Fiction is a made-up or imagined story. Prose is a written text that isn't poetry, which is mean drama discussed below. Is technical a type of prose, The most typical verse of prose are novel and story, while other types include letter, diaries, and journal. And nonfiction, also discussed below. Prose is written in complete sentence and organized in paragraph instead of focusing on sound, which is what poetry does. Prose tends to focus on plot and characters. Drama is often called a play. This genre is story composed in verse or prose, useful for theatrical performance or meant to be performed in front of an audience. Conflict and emotion are expressed through dialect and actions. Non-fiction is information based on fact. This informational text telling with an actual real life subject. Okay, I think it's enough for my video. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, the historical novel is a novel that all of the character and the stories come from history. And Bildungsroman is a novel generally from German, and it's tell about the history of life from childhood to mature. And the three is the Gothic novel. It's a popular novel in this modern age or era, because like we know, maybe for the example like Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Pinocchio, maybe like that. The social novel are called industrial novel. It came from England, and like I know, the social novel is from short life to novel. The science fiction novel is a novel like we know, tell about other world, like about alien come in this world to hunting. 6 metafiction is a novel that means the writer means to compare or to make a relationship between the fiction and reality. 7 romance novel. It's a novel like Wonderful World, tell a story about the knight and the princess, or like a relationship, maybe like we know Romeo and Juliet, or me with my my girlfriend.